So while I was there in the hospital, that's where literally I witnessed how our people actually struggle to access these prosthetic limbs, So I met an amputee in the hospital. On that day, literally I had to forget about myself that I was ill. But I was able to put myself in an amputee shoe to say that today it might not be me, but what if tomorrow could be me or one of my loved ones? But for me, what actually provoked me and what literally still pains me is the accessibility, lack of accessibility and due to affordability. Because sometimes you will also meet other people that are living with these physical disabilities to find that they don't even have their own funds, and others were born with this disability and still with no hope. Listen, guys, we're not saying we're taking all your pie, right? Or your share in the market. But what we're trying to do here, we're just trying to leverage the digital technology so that it can be more accessible. And also,
let's take all the pie. Take the pie.
The lifestyle of a disabled person in South Africa is very expensive because you need to have like 50,000 to $1 million in order for you to actually be able to own or access mobility.
Why is it so expensive? Hi, big dreamers. You're here with the big dreamer of them all. I'm Miles Kupek. I'm so excited to have you guys share the next, say, 45 minutes to an hour with us. Just chatting with Sibongile, telling us her journey, her business and trials, tribulations, and all that fun stuff that people often don't get to see, because I think most people think entrepreneurship is glamorous. They see the sexy stuff. They don't really get to see the hardcore, the hard yards behind the scene. So today, it's firstly about your journey. It's about you. And with that, I'd like to say firstly, thank you for joining us. Being victim number one, as I say. So maybe then, Sibongile, if you don't mind, take us through basically where it began. Where you from? How did it all start?
So basically, Sibongile is actually a young female from the township of Soweto. I was born and raised from Dobsonville in Mapetla. I come from a family of 8 siblings. I'm a silk child at home.
Yeesh.
So we're blessed with 4 girls and 4 boys at home. And then literally I was raised by both self-employed parents. So my mom used to sell at school, like amakipkipu, amasweet and all this.
Right.
And then my late dad used to drive kids to school so that they can put food on the table. And then while my parents were self-employed, I think in my grade 3, I was actually able to assist my mom, because I was the one who actually initiated that my mom must also sell like cheap bread and cheap bunnies at school, And then
How old were you then?
I was 9-10 years. And then I actually started to do that. I told my mom I must buy a loaf of bread, and mom started buying loaves of bread. Then I actually did the cheap bread, and then I said to my mom, I sell this for 150. And then day one, it was stock out. Then literally my mom started now to say that, okay, you have actually came up with a new idea to my business, So my mom actually loved the creative, even in terms of making ice. I used to cook the ice, using amasigs or even the powder for the ice and whatever, so that my mom can actually sell that at school. And then I will always look at other women that were also selling with my mom. And I'll always come and tell my mom that, okay, tomorrow we need to change the flavors of the ice. Let's try something purple or green and whatever. So I think ever since I was a child, I've been that odd child at home, because even my parents were like, I'm actually chasing them, and I'm also challenging in terms of if they have to look from all our siblings and to think that I'm almost the youngest at home, because I'm a second last actually, But then I think what I also loved is because whatever idea that I would even share with my parents, they would actually encourage me, So I think from a young age that what actually inspired me to say that I shouldn't fear anything. If there's something that I want to try out, I should actually be able to actually try it out. So I literally come from a home or a background where literally, entrepreneurship is something it's a norm,
Yeah.
And then I actually...
Sorry, just on that point, it seems to me it's very important how parents see, firstly, because your parents took your advice,
Yes.
which is firstly amazing,
Yep.
but then gave you the opportunity to follow through with it. It's a
Yes.
great advice, and then they gave you the responsibility to do it, so
Yes.
you could see the results. But then, most importantly, they supported you.
They supported me. And then vice versa, as much as I'm going to be telling my story, it was now another way around again. So I started my primary school where my mom used to sell sweets at school. So I started my primary school at Lolly Primary School. So I had the love of science since I was a child, science and maths. So I did that from my grade 1 until my matric. And then my high school I attended at Enadale Secondary School. And then from there, I was actually awarded a bursary to study IT, but however, I had never had the love of IT. I've always wanted to see myself in a medical space, but due to other financial strainers, I couldn't actually further those studies. Then one of the challenges was that my parents had to sit me down after matric and say that, okay, now where to from here? Then I was like, okay, I think for now I'll just rather opt for one to look for a job and study part-time. But however, when I was like employ, I couldn't find something that I could study part time, especially in the engineering field, neither on the medical side. So I was actually up to do like your commerce. So I had to venture that and study like your entrepreneurship, marketing management, and then yeah, I did some of other short courses, and then I did my higher certificate in marketing management. But then later on, I think back in 2017 or 2018. I actually resigned from the corporate space. Then I actually went back to school. Then that's where I actually able to further my studies under the mechanical engineer. And then yeah, so and then I think it was back in before COVID, 2019. I had a gum infection. So
You
when
had
I
a
had
what, sorry?
a gum infection. So when I had a gum infection, literally I would say my gum infection led me to my dreams because I had a gum infection. So I was with my doctor. Then my doctor actually referred me to one of the local hospitals close by. The reason for him to actually want me to go to the nearest hospital is that they wanted to get like an x-ray because they were able to cure it, right? But they were not sure what was the cause of that gum infection. So they wanted to know what was the cause of it. So that if it's something severe, they can be able to treat it, immediately. So while I was there in the hospital, that's where literally I witnessed how our people actually struggle to access these prosthetic limbs. So I met an amputee in the hospital. And I think on that day, literally, I had to forget about myself that I was ill. But I was able to put myself in an empty shoe to say that today it might not be me, but what if tomorrow could be me or one of my loved ones? And then I tried to understand what's the problem because there was a lot of noise in the hospital. Then I tried to intervene. And then that's where literally I was told that he's been coming here at the very same hospital with no help, and then he's been on the waiting list for more than 5 years. So for me, it never made sense. And I actually asked, does the hospital produce this? They said yes. Then I asked, can I speak to one of the surgeon, who's in charge? Then they actually allowed me. Then I spoke to one of the guys in the hospital. He actually admitted to say that it is true. Reason to that is because there's lack of skills in the sector, lack of resources, and relying on exports and imports. And also, not all hospitals have the capability to produce this. So literally, I knew one way or the other there must be something that one can actually do, but I did not know where to start.
So you were going to hospital
Yes,
for an ailment you were having,
yes,
and you're sitting there and you realize there's a problem.
yes,
And one of the things I get to be asked a lot is like, how do I see these opportunities? How do I come up with these things? And I often say, great ideas are hidden in plain sight. They are there everywhere, right?
absolutely.
You just gotta look. But more
Yes,
importantly, you gotta act now that you've seen,
yes,
right? Now, obviously, I want to double click to this part. This is the journey. This is
okay,
the baby.
yeah,
But I still want to give the context of you, like, because I think there's two parts to this. Is like, are entrepreneurs made,
yes.
or are they? In other words, are they born or made? And what is your thoughts based on what you've seen in your lived experience?
I think for me, it's they're born, not made.
Tell me more.
I think the reason why I'm saying that, like I told you earlier on,
Mm.
for me, it started in a very young age. So, even like now, when I look at my journey and even the work that I'm actually doing, I always fall in love with it. It's passion that keeps me going.
Mm.
But then that's when literally I realized that other people are actually born for this because it actually comes in a form of like a calling.
Like, that's such a good point because I've been grappling with this. It's like being a musician. Ne? Where do songs come from? Right? So some musicians will say, like, they get inspired, they see something, and then it leads
Yeah,
to writing. But
absolutely.
business is the same, or being an entrepreneur, it's like that. It's like a calling. It's the
Yes.
ability to you. It's natural. It's easy.
Yes, it is because it's like you see a problem and also try to find a solution to
Solution.
it.
You
Yeah.
know. But now you've got siblings, right?
Yes.
Because I'm still exploring the nature versus nurture. You're all raised by the same parents, same
Yes. Yes.
household.
Yes.
They seen your parents working hard as entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
but only you, or is there any other family member?
Nope. I'm the only one.
So your argument is becoming more and more valid that it's you're born.
Born. Yeah, absolutely.
Although, would you agree that people can be taught?
I also agree they can be taught,
Yeah,
but sometimes it also comes in with love.
yeah.
Because if you don't have love for something, then you're not gonna master it. But if it's something that comes within, it makes it easier.
Then why did you not just naturally go explore and after matric and just go be an entrepreneur? Why did you feel the pressure to go study and
For me, to be honest, I never felt any pressure because literally my parents were like, okay, we think we have done our part. So from here, you need to tell us what is it that you actually want to do. Then for me, I was like, okay, I don't want to sit at home, but I'll rather at least try to find a job and then also study part time. But for me, there was no pressure at all because literally some of my peers and also some of the people that I went to school with, literally after matric, they went to varsity. But for me, I was being able to start my first job at Ackermans, being a cashier and also doing my learnership at Jamalto. So I did not feel any pressure, to be honest. But while I was still like doing these other part times jobs and also like finding my food as well, I was also able to actually like prepare chips and also like sell it at home.
okay?
So
So that continued. That
yes,
entrepreneurial business
yes.
survival
Yes,
just
so
continued. Yeah.
yeah, it just continued because either way, whether I will actually like go to school or go to work, whatever, but my mom would actually help me. And even when I'm not around, then she will be able to sell that. Then I'm able to also generate more income so that it can also sustain ourselves as well.
You refer to your mom quite a bit, and where's your dad in this whole thing?
The thing is, just after my matric, my dad passed on.
Oh, sorry to hear.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying it's vice versa. When I was a kid, I used to help my parents, right? But then when now I was grown, even when I started Uku'hamba, literally the first person to actually support and believe in my vision, it was my mom.
You know, I see that to be a common theme. Like mothers are superheroes, right? Like they're consistent in
Yeah,
terms of
absolutely.
being there for you. And um, what does your mom think now about your journey?
Um, I think one of the things is that she actually shies away from, that spotlight. But one of the things that I can tell you, she's always proud because even when I'm traveling, when I'm going internationally or local, wherever, even if I'm taking flight, one thing before I leave home, she would definitely pray for me.
Mm,
So she's been my biggest supporter because even Uku'hamba, before I actually started and being where I am, like now currently, it literally started at home, where I was like, okay, now I've seen there's a problem. Then now I'm trying to solve this. So I was like, "Aish, now I need this other machine." So she was the first one to ask me, what kind of machine that you're looking for? Then I was like, no, mom, I need a 3D printer. Then she was like, okay, 3D print, how big is it? Then I was like, for now, since that I'm starting and I can't afford, I think I'll get something that's like this kind of a size. And then he was like, okay, it's something that we can actually install at home in the house. I was like, yeah, it can.
So where did you install it? In the garage?
No, in the kitchen, in my mom's cupboard. Like, so what we will used to do, because I was still trying to prototype and do other things. So I'll dish, like, every day in the evening, we'll actually dish and prepare supper and whatever, dinner. Then after the supper dinner, I'll have to actually remove everything on top of the cupboard. Then I'll start plugging everything in the machine.
And you were working this time as well, or this
No, I
was
was
now full
not.
time?
I was full time now on it. I was not working.
So now let's come back to the business because I can see the two, like just one. You are the business. So first, you tell us the name of the business,
So the name of the business is Uku'hamba, right?
as in
So
to go or to walk.
yeah, to walk. So Uku'hamba is actually an African word meaning mobility in English. So when we say Uku'hamba, we don't like limit ourselves and just focusing just on, legs, and saying, but when we say mobility, it means like, we're trying to include everything, being
Right.
inclusive. Um, that's when Uku'hamba was like, it started, the word and the whole thing, it was funded in 2020, right? And then,
After that hospital visit where you saw
yes,
that the
yes,
challenge was there's a lot of people in public hospitals
yes,
that don't have limbs, but
yeah,
the waiting period is exorbitantly long,
yes,
right? And there's no skill set to either manufacture them, and
yeah.
if you import them, it takes
It's
too
too
long,
long,
right?
and it's
Okay,
very expensive. Yeah.
yeah. So you see this, like the gap between seeing it and having this machine now sitting on your mom's
Covered.
dining room, and you fill in the gaps for us.
Um, like I said, my mom has been very much supportive throughout the journey because at first, remember, like now I'm still new. I want to solve this, but I still don't have all the knowledge and the know-how, right? So I used to do like a lot of research and also trying to try different designs and all that, so it literally took me some time,
About
man.
how long?
um I can't say when, how long, but for me, it was more of something. I don't want to say a hobby, but it was something that I was like sort of a routine because, like, I was doing it like every night.
Why
So,
did it bother you so much that you like it burned you to actually execute on it? What was
um,
that?
for me, to be honest, like, I met this person right in the hospital. But then little I knew that there are people that are actually suffering from the same challenge from the person that I actually met from the hospital. So within my own community, then that's where literally I started like noticing these people. Then I started like, trying to engage, to say that sometimes, as often as like when we are able, we tend to look down on people that are living with disability. So that actually, like, that's what literally had burned me. Then I tried to say that, okay, one way or the other, I must find a solution to this. I started like engaging more and more. But for me, what actually provoked me and what literally still pains me is the accessibility, lack of accessibility and due to affordability. Because sometimes you will also meet other people that are living with these physical disability to find that they don't even have their own funds, and others were born with this disability and still with no hope. So for me, like, this still pains me. For me, I
So
still
then
say
would you say then this is like it feels like your purpose for existing?
I definitely does.
So you found your purpose found you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that kind of that fills in the gap for me,
Yeah.
right? And then now you're at the table, you start manufacturing them, you're building the knowledge, the know-how,
Yeah.
you're 3D printing them. Like, how long did it take before you had prototype one, and what are the lessons from there?
I think for me, okay, the lessons are sometimes you can also have the machines, but if you don't have the technical skills as well, it might not benefit you. So I also had to self-taught myself with different skills, in terms of the designing using different softwares, because also the designing as well, it wants a good eye. Also, you need to pay attention to details as well. You don't just design for the sake of designing. And also the other thing that one is actually trying to also break in the sector is that these prosthetics needs to be customized in a sense that it shouldn't be just like a medical tool for a person to use to walk or to hold or to grasp, but it should be something that a person is able to wear it with pride. And whenever a person is actually wearing with pride, whatever, it's something that's going to be easy for a person to actually carry. Because if it's something personal to you, it's something that you
Like
don't.
your hand is personal. Yeah.
Yeah. But sometimes you also find other people that they do have these access to this prosthetic, but you will find out that it's too heavy for them to actually carry and it's too boring.
So,
So,
but I mean, and I get that, right?
yeah.
But my commercial brain kicks in. Is that then how scalable is it? Because to your point, there's a level of customization that's required, right?
Yeah.
Because no pun intended, it's not one size fits
Fit all,
all.
absolutely.
So how do you how did you come to deal with that once you were starting to prototype and execute?
I started like by engaging with the users, and I trying to understand their needs. And then when you actually engage with the user, it makes it easier for you when you have to actually work on different designs. Because now you know, like for example, if you are a first time user of a prosthetics, right? Obviously, you were used to working with your both hands or your sorry, you were used to use both arms or hands, and you were actually able to walk with both legs and whatnot. But now, if like you have that picture now that you're no longer able to use the other leg, or you're unable to use both legs now, so obviously you also have thoughts of fear as well, you know. So those are some of the things that when we also design, you need to also try to consider, and saying that in terms of the strength, in terms of durability, in terms of comfort, you know.
So,
So
but then my question still remains: how would you scale something that now has got levels of nuance?
it's okay. So the other thing is how to actually scale is that it actually depends, because the more you also increase production.
There's variants that will cover for
Yeah.
it's like shoe sizes, like you
Yes.
can cover for many people.
Yeah.
And then, have you found that there's a difference to people who lost their limbs later in life in relation to people who are born with no limbs or varying amounts of limbs? Do they adjust to prosthetics differently?
Yeah, they adjust to prosthetic differently. Because for one, let's say like if you haven't used it for like, let's say you haven't used any prosthetic in your entire life, obviously it's like something new to you, you
Mm.
know. So you need to also go to like sessions where you need your physiotherapy. You also need your rehabilitation centers and all
Mm.
that, so that they can also be able to teach you how to actually walk with them using the what you call the rails
Mm.
and all that. Yeah.
How has this changed you though? Like when you work with people who are differently able, like has it changed you as a for not taking certain things for granted? Like how, or I don't know, like has it changed you?
I think for me, it's more of like a calling kind of thing. And when you are actually able, for one, let's say, when you look at young people, for me, I'm always touched by when you see, like, when you go to like special schools, when you see other kids that don't have like arms, you know, and then they're using their leg or feet to actually hold a pen or write.
Mm.
But then when you are able to actually give them that hand or an arm, it actually puts a smile on their face. And also it also becomes another challenge to a normal person, because now it's like when Tato goes home, he would be like, Mom, I want a Spider-Man Tato, and not knowing that Tato Gatle is actually using a prosthetic now, you understand. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wow, that's hectic, man. Bioengineering is growing in a very exciting field. I know right now prosthetics are like 3D printed. It's,
Yeah.
but I'm assuming as you in the space that invariably at some point in time these are going to be made out of, I suppose, biological material as opposed to prosthetics.
Yeah.
How far is that, and what's been your experience?
To be honest, there's a country, South Africa, though, if I have to say South Africa, because I live in South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, we're still a bit far, you know, in terms of adopting even the technology, because even like now, we are trying to actually engage and also interact with different hospitals,
Mm-hmm.
so that they can also be able to adapt to these technologies, because you also feel like if maybe few hospitals also have access to these machines, it will also makes it easier for our people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then also the other thing is there are a lot of red tapes as well within the industry itself. So I think we still have a long way, if I have to put it that way. But if you look in generally, like let's like take that challenge, like facing it like in terms of international whatever, definitely international it can be possible, you know, because even with these 3D printers, these advanced prosthetic, you see it mostly internationally
Mm.
compared to SA, you know.
Or the
So
continent.
yeah,
But how big is the market? Like, what's the term on this?
the market is very big, because currently now in South Africa we are like having 30.5 amputees that have access to any form of prosthetics,
Is that
but
30 point? What's it? 30.5? Is that million?
no, 30.5% have
Oh,
access.
okay,
Yeah.
percent. Okay.
But then according to World Health Organization, it's estimated that it's 1 out of 10 in low income countries that have access to any form of prosthetic device.
Wow.
Yeah.
So those are big numbers.
Yeah. So like currently in South Africa, we're sitting with more than 3 million amputees.
And out of those 3 million amputees, how many have access? To your
30.
point, is
30.5. So it's like the entire 69.5 don't have any access.
yeesh.
So it's like the lifestyle of a disabled person in South Africa is very expensive because you need to have like 50,000 to a million in order for you to actually be able to own or access mobility.
Why is it so expensive?
For one, in the public sector, they access this for free. But then in the private sector, they actually have to procure this by like funding it. It's through medical aid and whatnot. So, but now what happens to families that actually don't have any funds?
Now, let's say I've got a check, right? Um, I'm sitting here with my checkbook. I want to cut you a check.
Okay.
How much money do you need to take your business to the level where you are properly attacking this problem statement at scale? Because the the demand is that big, right?
Yeah.
How much money do you need?
I think for us, like now, 1.5 meter can still do because literally we benefit.
No, no. I want to make this sink in. I can cut you any check,
Okay.
right? I'm sitting here.
Yeah.
I think we have something that needs to be invested in.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, looking at you in your eyes, I think there's a valid business here. Sure, I think the model we would need to explore a little bit, I think, because of the scaling thing,
Yeah.
but that's a workable thing.
Yes.
But I'm sitting here with my checkbook. How much do you need to properly make a dent in this industry?
For now, I'll say 1.5 meter will do.
And what would you do with that 1.5 million?
Okay, for now, we'll actually procure times two industrial ones.
Mm-hmm.
Because currently we have like 8 of these, but it's the smallest one. So if we can get like times two, the ones that you can actually access like one for 800,000 K from Germany and whatnot, then I think that will actually help us to actually scale because now would be able to use different material for it as well.
So currently, how many are you producing, and what impact have you had? How many people have you helped, and like what does that look like?
Okay, so currently it's because like I would say like we're still new in the market, right? And we are still trying to convince medical professional people to also adapt this and to see there's a need for such. So we haven't reached like a target of 100 as yet. We are plus minus 40 there.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And it's all limbs, all different parts.
it's different
Yeah.
because we do different products.
Yeah.
Like now we do like your cushion, we do like your braces, your splints.
Yeah.
It depends. And then
On that though, in that market, because you're doing everything, is there space to focus? In other words, are you more efficient if you just did legs as opposed to arms? Or is it the same? It doesn't really make a difference.
I think if you have the skills, it doesn't make any difference, right? Because I think for us as Uku'hamba, literally, we just want to make mobility accessible to our people.
And is there licensing requirements? Is there a health body that has to approve what's the barrier? And more
Okay.
importantly, once you're in, is it easy for you to close it and create a moat?
So once you're in the medical space, obviously there are compliance, right? You need to comply with certain borders, you need to comply with SAPRA and all that and whatnot. But as Uku'hamba, we're in the health tech space. So for us, but at least for other people that are in the space, it's actually making a lot of sense as well when you actually also approach them, to say that, listen, guys, we're not saying we're taking all your pie, right? Or your share in the market. But what we're trying to do here, we're just trying to leverage the digital technology so that it can be more accessible
All
and
right,
also.
Suka, let's take all the pie. Let's take the pie. So the biggest barriers obviously uh, being in the healthcare industry, I can
Yeah.
imagine is regulation,
Yeah.
right? Has it?
It's like for one,
Yeah.
if I have to proceed practical like this, like as Uku'hamba, we're also like doing this in a form of leveraging these digital technologies. But however, you need to also have a certified prosthetist in the team as well.
Which do you have?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also there are certain ISO standards that you also need to actually meet as well. You know, like for us, Uku'hamba, we also had to comply under the risk management, you know, and also under medical device requirements as well for our product quality and all those kind of things.
Then that leads me to the next logical thing. You know, in generating the income to be able to scale and get my return on my 1.5 million. Um, you said two things. Most of the customers don't have access because
Absolutely.
of they don't have the money,
Yes.
and then in public hospital where it is free, it's the long time
And no
so forth.
skills. Yeah.
So how do you monetize this? And I feel kind of guilty saying how do you monetize people's unfortunate circumstances, but
Yeah.
in order to help more, it needs to be sustainable, right?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
what's the model? What's the business model in sustaining this?
So with us, we actually like design, doing the 100% in-house manufacturing. So when we do 100% manufacturing, it makes it more cost effective as well. You know,
So you got your own facilities now to
yes,
manufacture.
yes.
Yeah.
And then it's like we're also not relying on the third part and whatnot, you know. And then also the other thing is we actually like design and produce and supply to different customer segmentations and according to different customer requirements, right?
Right.
And then in terms of products offering, it's like we produce your prosthetics, your prosthetic covers, your liners, and so that we can actually sell it and charge a fee. So that's how we
So
actually,
that's where.
yeah, we generate. And then in terms of service
So
offerings,
that's almost like a subscription model. So once you've got the prosthetic, there's the other ancillary services that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
in terms of service offerings, like we repair your prosthetics and whatnot, maintenance, then we charge a fee. Then also offering like your 3D printing, scanning to actually generate other
Revenue.
revenues. But then in terms of us, like how to also make money, it's partnering with different stakeholders, you know. So literally we want to penetrate in the public sector because that's where literally we want to help, because we know even on the government side they're actually slow in terms of adapting even technologies and whatnot. So but then we still haven't found that loophole that can actually like, you know, open doors for us in terms of the public sector.
But are you
But
a
we were,
private company or are you a social non-profit organization? Where do you fit in?
or we fall under social enterprise. We are a private company though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not a non-profit,
No, we're not.
but you're a social enterprise.
Yeah.
So you are for good, but with
Yes,
commercial interests.
yes,
Okay. Cool.
absolutely.
Right.
But then on the public sector, I think it was last year where we were also fortunate where we also had like, you know, Chris and Barakwani, we had a meeting with them, even the Department of Health. And so for us, it actually showed that at least other people, they're starting to notice what we're actually trying to actually do as well, you know. And then of us, in terms of the business model, is partnering with different stakeholders. For one, partnering with the public sector and private hospitals so that they can actually procure from us. Like for example, the private guys, we are actually like also lowering their costs, right? So definitely with them, we don't have like long administration compared to the public sector. Yeah.
But then if I could, because the biggest thing for me, if I'm cutting checks, I need to be able to also pick up the phone and call somebody and say, guy, you gotta give this lady the opportunity because the product is excellent, but more importantly, you need it as a service, right?
Yeah.
Because then it's market access for you.
Yes.
Like, who should I be calling? Like, is it Minister of Health? Like, where must I to remove the hurdle in your journey?
Definitely, it's the Department of Health.
Really?
Yeah, Department of Health. You know, Department of Health, Minister of Health. because our customers, it's public and private
Are
hospitals.
they gonna say, yeah, but it's a procurement process, it's equal, it's fair for everybody.
Yeah.
They issue out tenders
Exact.
and
Okay, but apart from tenders as well, but also like NGOs, right? Because we also like partner with different NGOs so that they can also raise funds on behalf of their beneficiaries, so that they can actually procure from us as well. And then also the partnering with special schools as well, because also special schools have this kind of an associative device fund and whatnot, so they're also able to allocate some funds to other different companies, and so that they can also be able to assist their learners as well, and also mining as well, because most of them also lose their
limbs there.
yeah, so those are people that we are also targeting as well, and militaries, because most soldiers also lose their limb losses due to civil
So
wars
I
as
gotta
well.
call 4 departments: minerals
Yeah.
and energy,
Yeah.
health, defense. Okay, I'll use my speed dial and we'll get that going. Uh,
Yeah.
but as we wrap up, one of the things I'd like to know, because when you go to bed after a long day of
Yeah.
3D printing, listening to real sob stories, real humans behind, it's exhausting, it's taxing, you're alone, no one else understands this. Um, and people think it's sexy being an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Meanwhile, they
No,
don't
no, no,
see
no.
all the. So when it's said and done, you're sleeping at night or you're about to close your eyes. Like, where's the vision? Where do you see this in whatever time frame? But let's make it a long enough time frame that you've gone through the cycle.
I think for us as Uku'hamba, we want to see ourselves playing in the continental before we can go internationally. We've been also approached by different countries as well, like, the call from Kenya, Zimbabwe, and also Botswana. So we are also like making other communication with them, and then we're still trying to actually finalize other things. But with us, literally wanted to set our footprint first in our own country, to in South Africa. Then we can be able to actually expand to other countries. But however, the what you call the mission is actually try to make this more cost effective and also more quicker. With a quicker turnaround time. It does not make sense for people to wait for 5 years or more trying to access this, but being able to produce this within a day or two. But also the other, our biggest plan is actually try to at least improve that 69% that we're actually talking about, so that our people can have access to mobility, because access to mobility, it's a human's right.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think, to be honest with you, from where I'm sitting, as a big dreamer, I think um, I think we need to dream bigger in terms of both capacity and speed.
Yes.
I think I know how much you are asking for. To be honest with you, I would 10x that
Okay.
and massively lean into creating the scale and the production,
Yeah.
because once you start doing that, you will be also training skills. Now we
Yeah.
creating artisans who are on speciality limbs, and
Yeah.
and then there's the tech side, right?
Yeah.
Because you are 3D printing this stuff, so maybe we can be using AI to figure out all sorts
Yeah.
of variables. I don't know what I don't know in that, but it just
Absolutely.
feels to me the problem is big enough. I think it's a worthwhile cause. It's
Yeah.
like it's got a literal impact on people.
Yes.
But beyond that, if you're empowering people to get their hands back or their mobility back,
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're also contributing to the economy,
Economy. Yeah.
right? They become less of a burden to
No
other
other
people who
people.
can now also go
Yes.
contribute so from
And
where I'm sitting,
they also feeling the sense of belonging within the
yeah, and
community.
pride,
Yeah.
right? And so from where I'm sitting, I think we need to go big or go home. I'm serious. I'm like, and I'm thinking some of our listeners and viewers are gonna be commenting below and start sending checks this way to grow this into the next sustainable, highly impactful business. And with that, I'd like to say Godspeed. Amazing stuff. I love your energy. I love your purpose. And I sincerely wish we get to 10x sooner rather than later.
Definitely we will.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Sibongile, for your time. Really, really appreciate it. And I genuinely wish your business nothing but success.
Thank you so much, Miles.
Thank you.